Welcome back to the Under 24 podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy, and I'm joined by Alvin, uh, our temporary co-host here. So, how you doing? How have you liked the NBA playoffs so far?
I mean, they're good. They're all competitive series, so I'm interested.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on in the NBA, including coach hirings and stuff like that. And we'll get right into it. And we'll first start with the NBA and the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. So the Western and Eastern Conference Finals are underway, and the Phoenix Suns have moved on to the NBA Finals for the first time since 1993 after not making the playoffs for, for the past 5 seasons. Chris Paul had a huge game on Wednesday with 41 points after being non-existent in games 3 and 4 and missing the first 2 games due to health and safety protocols. So do you think the Suns can win the NBA title, and will their playoff inexperience show during the finals?
I don't think inexperience is a factor here anymore because all four teams, well, all three teams don't have experience at all. Hawks haven't been here, the Bucks haven't been here, and the Suns haven't been here. If anything, the Suns are the most experienced team with Jay Crowder and CP3 on their team. I want to talk about the Clippers series. I think the Clippers played a great series. They played amazing without, especially without Kawhi. Key players stepped up.
Yeah.
Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, they all stepped up. And but the only factor was the Clippers were about to play their. They played their 15th game in 29 days. They were exhausted, and Chris Paul just took advantage of that. I mean, injuries hurt this Clippers team, starting with Kawhi, and then Zubac, and then I think most people forget that Serge Ibaka, who is a key factor in this Clippers team, was injured for like he didn't even play in the playoff series.
Yeah.
So, but this, I think coincidentally, I think the Suns had an easier road to the playoffs than any other team road to the finals than any other team here. In the first round, Anthony Davis was injured, and then the second round, Jamal Murray didn't play, and then the Clippers didn't even have Kawhi Leonard. So I think that's why. But if the Suns have a real shot, I think they do, depending on the star. Like even Giannis and Trey are both injured over there. So it depends on who is playing them. But I think the Suns is most likely to win the series.
Yeah, I think the Suns can win. Talking about the inexperience, I think it will show, especially like on Devin Booker and DeAndre in close games, in late situations, when it like time is coming to the down to the wire, and yeah, you're down big, or it's a close game and it's pressure situation. So those times it might show. But when you have Chris Paul and Jay Crowder who went to the NBA Finals last year with the Miami Heat, and he's been on the Boston Celtics and the Utah Jazz, teams that have made the playoffs almost every year. When you have CP3, who's like a point god, he's like so like really good, so he knows what he's doing. And the
Yeah.
Suns I think they can easily win the NBA Finals, especially with that team, like you said, coming out of the East, not their star not being 100% healthy. Like they have Giannis, who's not 100%. We don't even know if he'll play for the rest of the playoffs. And then you have Trey Young, who has a bone bruise, and we don't know his status for the rest of the series either. So I think the Suns can win, and this also gives the Suns some rest because the series in the East is tied up 2-2, and that will give them at least 4 days of rest for Booker and CP3 to get healthy, because Booker obviously had that injury in the Clippers series where he had that nose injury. So if they can rest up the Suns, I think they can win.
Dude, honestly, bro, the secret formula is just sign Jay Crowder onto your team. It's automatic playoff. It's automatic playoff berth. If you just sign Jay Crowder, you're automatically going to the playoffs. I
Yeah,
don't.
I don't think
I
he's
think
ever
Jay
missed the
Crowder's had a
playoffs.
streak. Yeah, I think he's had a streak though. How many
Yeah,
times? Maybe like 4 years, 5 years, something crazy. He's been in the finals 2 years in a row now.
yeah. It was before, it was like Draymond Green, and now it's Jay Crowder, I guess.
It is.
Yeah, but in the East, the series is tied up 2-2, and there have been injuries to both star players. In Game 3, Trae Young stepped over a ref, causing a bone bruise and he missed Game 4. Giannis had a hyperextended knee in Game 4 in the second half, causing him to miss the rest of the game, and he is doubtful for Game 5 and the rest of the series. So how have injuries played a role in the Bucks-Hawks series, and how has it hurt both teams?
This series has become a what if series. So it's like, what if Giannis wasn't injured, or what if Trey wasn't injured? What would have happened then? But now Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday, we can see their true value now, and they have to step up for the Bucks. But I don't. Maybe the Hawks steal a game, but I don't see them winning. The Bucks are gonna have to. Bucks used to go with a tight rotation with just 8 men, but before Giannis's injury, but now Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, and Bryn Forbes are gonna have to receive more minutes. This series, Giannis has been averaging like 30 points, 10 rebounds, assists. He's been shooting amazing too. But one thing I want to touch on is that the Bucks have been 6-5 without Giannis. I think that's something. I don't know if that's something that could affect them this series, but it's something to look out for. I mean, Lou Williams stepped up last game with what he had like 24 points. John Collins stepped up. All these players step up, and I don't know if they can be consistent like that, but if they can be, they're gonna win the series.
Yeah, if you watch Game 4, you could tell like the Hawks got off to an amazing start. They went on like I think it was 15-2 or 15-4, something crazy like that. And the Bucks, they didn't make any adjustments from the previous game. Is when Trae Young was playing, and the team shot horrible from three. Like they were only 20% from three, so they relied on their bigs to hit their shots from the paint. And when you have Clint Capella and John Collins, that's really not that easy to do. So if Coach Bud doesn't make these adjustments in these games like hasn't before, like last year against the Miami Heat and the year before that against the Raptors, like the Bucks, I don't know if they'll get past. But they also need Chris Middleton to be amazing. 'Cause last game he shot 0 for 7 from three. He was just basically a non-factor in that game. So Chris Middleton needs to be that number one option, and Drew Holiday needs to be stellar on defense on the perimeter, guarding those threes and not letting them hit that.
Yeah, I
And for the
think
Hawk, yeah, go ahead.
problem with Chris Middleton. I think this is the series where we find out if Chris Middleton can be the number one option and if he's capable enough, because he's been riding behind Giannis. Giannis receives all those double teams. He receives
Yeah,
the focus at end of games. At the end of what do you call it? When you need to hit a big shot, they're focusing on Giannis. They're not focusing on Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton hits those shots most of the time.
yeah. If he can just step up and hit those shots, I feel like he will be like. I feel like the Bucks can win. But even without Trae Young on the Hawks, the Hawks made it interesting and won that game like in blowout fashion. Like it was like they didn't even need Trae Young on that on the game four. Like Lou Williams, first postseason start, did amazing. Bogdanovich, Collins, Capella. Like when Capella hit that shot over the backboard, the game was already over. And
Um, so what do you think about what do you think is a more bigger loss to each team? Yeah, is it Bucks losing Giannis or Hawks losing Trey?
I think it's Bucks losing Giannis because the Hawks can play without Trae Young. Like you've seen it last game, especially with all the players they signed last offseason. I just feel like the Bucks don't really have it because Giannis is the focal point, and without Giannis, you need to rely on other players. And I don't know if they can step up like Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday and the other role players on the team.
Huge factory that no one's thinking about. Remember, I think they went 19-20, right? Something like that when Lloyd Pierce was the head.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were
yeah, and
bad.
yeah, he was amazing like, from when he got that interim job. But we'll move on to the NBA draft lottery and how each team has been put in the best draft position. So the NBA draft lottery was on June 22nd, and with many teams needing of that number 1 overall pick, the Detroit Pistons won the lottery, followed by Houston picking second and Cleveland picking third. Out of the top 14 teams, 5 teams were looking to be in the playoffs this year, but missed either due to play-in tournament or due to injuries. But we also saw many teams move up and move out. But who was put in the best draft position?
The overall pick. And then, especially after all surrounding Lowry at the deadline, it wouldn't be a surprise if they log and give him. I think plenty of teams would be willing to sign him. Maybe I think the Lakers were interested. The 76ers were interested. I think those teams could have a chance at signing him. It's a chance for the Toronto Raptors to not lose that playmaking and draft Jalen Suggs. I think Jalen Suggs has supreme athleticism, can play make like Kyle Lowry, and can score at certain times. I think the Pistons obviously got lucky, and now they can draft Cade Cunningham to pair up with Killian Hayes, and then they can together with surprise players like Jeremy Grant, Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bey. But one thing the Pistons have to do if they want to be successful is build around the backcourt.
Yeah, I feel like the Pistons, they don't draft Cade Cunningham. Something is wrong with them. But when you're drafting number 1, you have to go based on talent and not fit. And for the Rockets, you could pick a guard like Jalen Suggs who can play at both ends, or like Jalen Green. And for the Cavs, I just feel like they have so many young players, and it all depends on Colin Sexton. If Colin Sexton can be good, or if they want to trade Colin Sexton, they can draft a guy like Evan Mobley. But when you look at the best draft position, it has to be Golden State Warriors. Like, they have 2 top picks, and they can deal one along with James Wiseman, and they're looking to get a guy like Pascal Siakam, which they possibly could if they move off a contract like Andrew Wiggins. The Hornets and Pelicans, they're also in a situation where they can trade this pick to get a role player or rotational player. And for the Raptors, they jumped up for the 4th overall pick. And like you said it well, like they can draft a guard like Suggs who can play, make, and score. And I feel like Golden State was put in the best draft position.
So I want to talk about something you mentioned. Do you really think I don't think it would be a good trade, but I don't think they should give up James Wiseman and their 7th overall pick for Pascal. I think that's a little bit too much.
I feel like it's fine, especially because if you look at Klay Thompson and Steph Curry's age, they're like, especially with Klay Thompson, he has 2 major setbacks, missed 2 years in a row, and because of that, I just feel like you want to maximize their potential. So even though you were looking to try to look for the future, I feel like you want to try to win now and win as many as you can before Curry and Thompson retire, and then you can look on to the future.
Yeah.
So the top 5 picks in the draft, the Pistons, the Rockets, Cavs, Raptors, and Magic all have a chance to get a top superstar player. So who should the top teams pick?
I think the top 5 from be Pistons draft Cade Cunningham, state point guard who can space the floor, find his own shots, and defend about anywhere. Gives the flexibility to Detroit, and it gives him endless options to construct the supporting cast. The Rockets, I think they should take Evan Mobley. He's quick. He's quick and makes Houston tougher to score, as well as his mobility to play defense against guards and forwards. But after a few years, I think Mobley can develop a shot. He could be more versatile scorer, and he could probably become a point guard too. I mean, I don't know about the trade rumors that are going on, but it's best to go get a scorer instead of a playmaker like Jalen Suggs. I think the Raptors should take Jalen Suggs. Aside from his burst with the ball, playmaking, and pull-up and floater game, he brings energy and competitiveness to the Raptors that could strengthen them. He'd be someone good that could replace Kyle Lowry if he leaves. And I think after these 4 picks, it's kind of a toss-up between the 5th pick. But I think the Magic would take Jonathan Kuminga. He'll require some patience with shooting development and decision-making, but he has that shot-make ability, and he figures to receive enough early reps from age 19 to strengthen his feel for the game and shot selection. In my eyes, I see him as a draft and stash player.
Yeah, I feel like if you, Pistons, they have to pick Cade. Then Rockets, you can go for a guard like Jalen Suggs or Jalen Green, but you can also draft a guy like you said, Evan Mobley, who can guard almost every position and uh, develop a shot in the future. For the Cavs, it all depends on Colin Sexton. You know, if you trade him, you get a guard, but if you keep him, you want to try to get a big and then try to trade Kevin Love away. So it all depends on what the Cavs are trying to do. But I feel like Evan Mobley would be good, especially because he can defend those positions. And then
Yeah,
for the
but
Raptors,
I think the problem with Evan Mobley is you have Evan Mobley and then you have Jared Allen. I
yeah,
think
that is true.
that's one key factor to take in play.
Yeah, and like I said, it all depends on Colin Sexton. I don't know what they're gonna do. There are reports, there are rumors, and whatever happens, like they're if they want to keep him, they have to pay him. So, and with all that money on Kevin Love, I don't know what the Cavs are gonna do. But if they do draft a guard, I feel like it has to be someone who can play some defense, especially because Colin Sexton and Darius Garland are both undersized guards.
Yeah, that's true.
For the Raptors, I think they should replace try to replace Lowry with the guard like Green, or they can get a guy like Jonathan Kuminga, and the Magic could get a guy like Kuminga as well, because the Magic aren't really worried about their fit right now. They're just trying to rebuild and build for the future. For the Raptors, they have players like Flynn, Siakam, and Boucher. So a guy like Kuminga who can play the wing will be, I think, will be great for them.
Yeah, but Kuminga is going to take some time to develop. That's the one downside to him. He's
Yeah.
only 19.
Yeah, but that's also good because he can have a lot of potential when he gets like 22.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the next topic, and that is about the organizations making big changes to their front office and coaching positions. So since the NBA season has ended for many teams, organizations have made changes to their front office and coaching positions. To name a few, the Celtics, Mavericks, Pelicans, Pacers, and Trailblazers have all made big decisions. So out of all the teams, who has made the best decision with hiring and firings?
Well, after the Trailblazers and Terry Stotts mutually agreed to part ways after the Portland's first round exit in the playoffs, I mean, Damian Lillard said he wanted Jason Kidd or Chauncey Billups for the job. And ultimately, Billups landed the job on a 5-year deal. I think it's Billups' first head coaching job after working as an assistant under Ty Lue. But I think the Clippers had an amazing run this season, even without Kawhi. And I think Billups had a key factor in that. And having that experience on a team that is a title contender with Dame would be amazing. I mean, he played for 4 franchises before ultimately landing in Detroit, and he won Finals MVP in 2004. I think I think this year, even if it's Chauncey Billups' first year, I think they have high expectations for him. Maybe even past second round. I think second round is at least something minimum expectations for him. But I think higher.
Yeah, I think he was. It just all depends on, there's kind of rumors going around about what Dame thinks of this and what the fans think. So it's kind of crazy. But the Boston Celtics, when they hired Ime Udoka, I think it was a great signing because he's a player-friendly coach and he's well respected by the players and he knows what he's doing. And with that, I think that's what Brad Stevens was lacking. He was just losing, the voice was lost in the locker room. And with Ime Udoka, I think he'll be huge. He knows the game. He's played in the NBA, and then he's coached under Greg Popovich and won a championship in 2014. So he knows how to play the game. He knows the X's and O's and adjustments to make. So I think that was a great hire by the Celtics. And the Pelicans and Wizards, letting go of their head coaches, I think that was a great decision. Van Gundy didn't really work out um, on his strategy in this modern time, and Scott Brooks didn't really know how to use his players like any of Dia, and he used them more as spot up shooters with Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. So I think letting those two head coaches go was a great decision for the team. The
Yeah, I
Mavericks,
agree.
Yeah, the Mavericks when they made a huge gamble. I think with Jason Kidd and Nico Harrison, Kidd being the head coach and Harrison being the GM, this can be like huge for them because they can get free agents, big free agents, and because of Harrison's respect and familiarity around the league, and Jason Kidd is a player's coach, and I think he's learned from his early coaching years and can be better. But on the other side, this could also be horrible for them. It could frustrate Luca and limit the team from getting any stars or being good without a well-respected coach with little playoff coaching experience.
At least y'all get free Nikes.
That is true. A lot of Nike love there. So we'll move on to the next question where we have a lot of coach openings with the Wizards, Pelicans, and Magic. So what should these teams do with their openings?
I think the Wizards should hire Sam Castle from the Sixers or Darvin Ham from the Bucks. I mean, it's not like they would be thrown into a bad situation. He already has two All-Stars on the same team. They have rising up young players. They have Rui Hachimura, Denny Advia. But the only problem is with that team from there on, there's no bench depth. I mean, another candidate is like I said, Darvin Ham and Charles Lee. That's an also amazing candidate. But one thing I want to mention is those two coaches are from the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks are known for their success. So I think they would be a perfect fit to these teams that have players that could succeed, but all they need to do is put it together. It's hard to say who can be a good head coach without seeing them actually coach a full-on game. But
Yeah,
I'm very high on Sam Castle though to the Wizards though, and that's my most confident take.
yeah. For the Magic, I think they should just take a gamble on an assistant that has high potential. You know, like a Jamal Mosley or a Becky Hammond, because for the next couple of years, it won't matter much. They're just going to rebuild. So if you can get a coach that has high potential, I feel like you'll be set for the future. And for the Wizards and Pelicans, like you said, it's really hard because there's there's not that many former head coaches that are on the available right now, except for like Terry Stotts. And if the Pelicans or Wizards want to try to get Terry Stotts, I feel like he'll get you to at least the playoffs, but none more than that. And it's like you said, the assistants like Sam Cassell and Darvin Ham, I think those will be great. But you said it well, like we don't know what their coaching is like. So even though there's names around there, we don't know how they're going to coach and what their style of play is.
Yeah, I think the Pelicans also are a very young team. Pel- Pelicans have a real shot at making the playoffs, and I don't think you have to do that much to make sure the Pelicans get into the playoffs. But all they need is something to glue them together. They need that stability. Like I mean, now like the Suns have that stability in Chris Paul. They need some type of stability, whether it be a coach or a player, to take them to the playoffs.
Yeah, that is true, especially with the disappointment not even making the play in this year.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the NFL and we'll talk about the rookie QBs and how they will be successful this upcoming season. So with the NFL season coming up, there are many QBs that were drafted in the top 10 and in the first round to take their team far and to be a leader. Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, and Justin Fields are just a few of the top QBs drafted. So which NFL rookie QB has the best supporting cast around him?
I think Trey Lance has the best supporting cast around him. He's on a team that was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and he has an amazing defense with Fred Warner, Jason Verrett, and Nick Bosa. The I think he would fit perfectly because the offensive scheme that the 49ers run is a heavy run. All they do is run the ball, and that relieves pressure off the quarterback. And all Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance have to make is some key throws in key situations. They also have a mastermind coach in Kyle Shanahan. So it's hard for Trey Lance to fail in this situation. I think it's hard for any quarterback to fail in this situation. I think the reason why they drafted a quarterback is because of Jimmy Garoppolo's injury concerns. Otherwise, I think they would have stick with Jimmy Garoppolo if they had the chance. It also gives Kyle Shanahan the flexibility with this quarterback if Trey Lance is the starters. He can run more read option plays and more bootleg passes, which opens up his receivers and gives the running back more opportunities.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. It has to be Trey Lance. The only reason the 49ers were bad this season is because of injuries. George Kittle, Jimmy Garoppolo, and running backs like Mostert, like they were all injured in the season. So with Trey Lance, you have a guy that can you have options with George Kittle, and you can run the ball. So I feel like I feel like he has the best supporting cast, especially with the defense on the other opposite side.
I think the only problem is with Trey Lance is that all these other quarterbacks you mentioned, like Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, they were all D1 quarterbacks. He was D2. So D2 isn't that competitive. And mind the less, he was on North Dakota State, which is always in the championship. They're always winning. I think Carson Wentz went there, and we see how Carson Wentz is now.
Yeah,
So that's the only problem with Trey Lance is that he was never on a competitive division. He didn't play competitive players, but I think Trey Lance he could fit perfectly into the scheme.
yeah, he was a huge kind of risk when they drafted him. A lot of people expected like Justin Fields to be drafted 3, but if if Trey Lance does become good, like we never know how far they can go. And even though these teams have a good cast, the QBs have to be great in decision making and accuracy. So who will be the most successful rookie QB in their first season?
I think everyone would go with someone from the top 3 picks, like Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, or Trey Lance. But I want to go with Justin Fields. I mean, his athleticism and arm strength and his accuracy on the run are what stand out to me. And those are things you can't teach in the NFL. I mean, I think the problems that he had in college were his pocket awareness, which is essential in the NFL with QBs facing elite pass rushers like every week, and working through his progressions. If you look at the film from OSU, you can see him focus on his first receiver, and if he's not open, he starts to roll out and panic. He also has a tendency to be slow on the progressions, and he only gets to his second receiver by the time the pressure is up in his face. But but this is the same player that destroyed Clemson in the playoffs. If Justin can solve these problems, he can be a problem in the NFL. I think, and then I think Matt Nagy is a great coach for Justin Fields. I remember Mitch Trubisky looked like a great quarterback when Matt Nagy in his first year. So I think Justin Fields has that same potential, especially behind Andy Dalton. And I think Andy Dalton can help Justin Fields teach him that pocket awareness and that same tendency and can fix his tendency of his progressions.
Yeah, I just feel like if I don't know if Justin Fields will play at all this season, especially when the coach said that Andy Dalton is the number one QB. So we'll see how that plays out. But I think Trevor Lawrence is like an absolute beast. He was locked in as a number one pick for 2 years now, and the Jacksonville Jaguars have added players like Marvin Jones, and with Trevor Lawrence, you can throw that deep ball to wide receivers. And I feel like with Trevor Lawrence, you'll be the most successful. Uh, Not saying that will be in wins, but just having him on the team will be a great add and will help this Jaguars team.
Yeah, I think the only problem with Trevor Lawrence is his commitment to the game. I think he said something along the lines of he's not, if he wouldn't he wouldn't play football or something like that. But I think his commitment to the game is a problem, but that's not something with Justin Fields. I think he was injured, right? He was injured his shoulder or something.
Yeah,
He injured himself, but he still played through it. And I think that's something that makes a great quarterback and a great leader. His mentality of the game is what I think is going to make him successful.
yeah. Also, Justin Fields have been saying stuff like he's gonna learn plays on his vacation and stuff. So he Justin Fields is a very committed dude.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening to the Under 24 podcast. We want to thank you for listening on whatever platform you're listening to. Make sure you follow us on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, and follow our Instagram account at Under 24. We hope that you support this podcast and that you share the word about it. Until next time, we out.
See ya.